Well, it's emerged overnight that a second England cricketer is being investigated over offensive historical social media posts. The England and Wales Cricket Board has said that the tweets have been brought to their attention and they are looking into it.
This comes just hours after Ollie Robinson was suspended from international cricket while he is investigated for offensive tweets that he wrote as a teenager nearly a decade ago. They include sexist comments about women and racist comments about Asian people.
Now, Robinson has apologised. He says he's embarrassed and he deeply regrets his remarks. But should comments from years ago, written as a teenager, still have consequences?
Well, joining us now is former Sun editor and TalkSport founder Kelvin McKenzie, who says, yes, let's forgive the mistakes that were made years before. But former England spin bowler Monty Panesar believes the ECB made a necessary decision. Good morning to you both. Kelvin McKenzie, he was a teenager when he wrote these tweets, but I think he was still an adult, 18, 19 years old. That's correct, isn't it? So when we
That's
say
true.
you should be forgiven, should he actually have known better at the time?
Well, I don't know about you at 18 or anybody at 18. After all, the guy had just left school. He was playing kind of second 11 cricket for somebody. All right, I'm not trying to defend the tweets themselves. What I am saying is, a decade later, is it really appropriate that his entire career is basically held up to being pilloried? After all, he goes, when these tweets come out, which I think anybody sensible should have said, well, he should never have sent them, but secondly, he should have killed them, right? When they came out, he had to stand up in front of his colleagues in the changing room and apologise. And then he's gone on national television and apologised again. Surely that is enough. If you're 18, look, if you're 28 or you do it, or you're 38, yes, a larger penalty may be necessary. But honestly, look into your own lives, look into your children's lives, look into your friends' lives. At 18, are they the same kinds of people they are at 28? I don't think they are.
Well, let's ask Monty. Monty, do you accept the principle that there should actually be a sort of statute of limitations on stuff like this? Or do you think that if this had been discovered in 20 years from now and he was doing something else, he should have been held to account for it?
Well, I think he was, he was a teenager at the time when he made these comments. And I think, like ECB had to, take some sort of harsh decision on Ollie Robinson. But I think Ollie Robinson should, take ownership of this and actually tell the public, tell us, what have you learned, as a 27-year-old man now, from when you were 18? And what advice would you give to, an 18, 21-year-old, teenager who is in the same situation, on social media?
Let's say he's listening to this and watching this and he thinks, OK, I'll do that. And let's say he holds a press conference later today and says all the things that you're suggesting that he says. Could he then go back and join the team? Would that do it? Would that fix it?
Well, look, I think he shouldn't be given a harsher punishment than just a, one test match. And if what he has learned actually does, make a lot of sense, and it comes from him. It can't be a statement from the ECB. It can't be Sussex backing him up. It's got to be Ollie Robinson. We want to hear what has Ollie Robinson learned. And also, it's a bigger, wider issue. It's a wider issue, like the government getting involved, Boris Johnson saying it's over the top. It's completely unnecessary. This is, adding fuel, to this fire right now, and what the wider issue is that there could be another teenager at the age of 18 who's going to probably post something racist. In a few years' time, they could be applying for a job, coming out of university. They may not get that job. That's what this is about. This is about educating teenagers how to use their social media accounts.
Monty, we can't show the tweets on television at this time of the morning, but were you offended by them?
Yeah, look, I read the messages, and if I was part of a WhatsApp group and these were the messages, I would say to the group of people, I'm out of this group. I don't want to be part of this. But I read them and I thought, yep, you can see, at the age of, at a teenager, you're going to be saying things which are naive, say things which probably are immature. But within a group or amongst a team is different, because that sometimes can be, defined as banter. But once it's out on social media, then the public knows about it.
All right.
And I think, Susanna,
let's come to Kelvin. Let's come back to Kelvin. There seems to be maybe a compromise being on offer here, that if he comes out and gives a bit more detail about why he said what he said, not just that he's sorry about it, but a bit of analysis, if you like, and an address to other young men, basically not to do what he did, maybe he could then be allowed back in the team. Do you think that's kind of middle ground that we could agree on, Kelvin?
I very much hope he's back in the England team very quickly. Personally, if I had been the CEO of the ECB, I would never have kicked him out of the team in the first place. But I'd like to ask Monty something. Monty, is there anything in your recent past that might make you feel uncomfortable about what you may have done in your past? And would you like to share it with us? After all, you don't seem to mind Ollie Robinson now sharing with this. It's difficult for her.
Yeah, look, it is a difficult thing for him, but I think, look, what you learn, from your past is, we all make mistakes, and we all got to confront them, and we got to be honest about, the things that we have done and things that we have learned.
All right, Monty. Okay, Monty, then let's deal with that. Just out of interest, what do you regret doing when you were a teenager that you wish you hadn't done?
Well, I think for me, when I had obviously, my mental health issues that I was going through, that I denied. I was in denial there, which I didn't, talk about, very much. I also, had my incident, at Brighton, which everyone, publicly knew about that, which was a very, shameful moment, for me, which I kind of, I tried to address that as well.
Just remind us what that was.
Well, that's obviously, I think publicly everyone knows, what that incident, was. It doesn't need reminding. But I think what we're talking about here, the issue is that Ollie Robinson, I believe, should get back playing, Test cricket, the first Test match, against India. That's as much punishment I believe he should be given. But through this period, you should just tell us, the things maybe he has learned. I think anything harsh, anything beyond that, I think is a harsh punishment, because he was a teenager then. That was 9 years ago. He should continue his England career.
Well, that sounds reasonable. Kelvin, I mean, given that overnight we hear that another very well-known, we haven't named him yet, but a very well-known English cricketer has done the same thing, and at 16 sent out some extremely offensive tweets. You begin to wonder where this is going to end, because all of this is out there. Everything's out there on social media records. Everything can be dug up, and I'm sure there's a lot of digging going on now. I mean, potentially we could see half the team suspended, couldn't we?
I can see nothing but a problem. And I rather support Oliver Dowden about this, which is, he said it was over the top. I think Zach Goldsmith said that it was absurd. And Number 10 basically said that they agreed with Dowden's view. I'm puzzled slightly about why Sir Keir Starmer is so quiet on the Labour side. And where I think we're going on this is it's clearly there is a political aspect to this debate, which is still to be played out. And if we ended up with half the team out, I would be very hostile to that, frankly.
Let me interject, because obviously abuse on social media is a very serious issue. And misogynist and racist abuse on social media is something that we're trying to get the social media companies to tackle. And we have seen footballers take a knee in protest at, and part of that protest is the abusive tweets on social media. So actually, Monty, this kind of action is in line, isn't it, with that movement to try and clean up social media and stop racism and sexism on Twitter?
Yeah, look, Susanna, I agree with you. I think one of the reasons why the England team is taking the knee is not actually, some of the fans think that it's actually, you're telling the football fans that, they are racist. No, it's not the football fans who are racist. The problem is this, that 25% of professional footballers are black in the game of football right now. But out of that, only 3.4% are in coaching or senior management positions. That's why we take the knee. And that's why Ollie Robinson is being suspended, is because the system doesn't support, people going into senior management positions. That's why we're doing this.
All right, Monty,
that's the main reason for it.
Just bringing it back to the here and now, though, I mean, put the same question to you as I put to Kelvin. If this second cricketer is named, and I'm sure he will be very, very soon, and the tweets are extant and they're provable, presumably you would agree that the ECB would have to do the same thing again. They'd have to suspend him. And if other texts and tweets and stuff emerge from other cricketers which are racist or sexist, then they're going to have to do the same thing to them, aren't they? So potentially we could see a whole raft of suspensions, couldn't we? Monty.
Yeah, well, look, I don't see like it's going to go that far. We're seeing, people getting suspended, and that's going to be completely unnecessary. I think it's about outlining, how to educate people, and the things you can and you cannot say on social media, and also people having the education to know what terms, are actually, racial termed as racial discrimination. Sometimes, people may not even understand that, actually we sweep it under as, oh, it's a joke and it's a laugh, but actually it's not right.
That's a very good point.
And Kelvin, isn't this an opportunity to say that this kind of language, these kind of jokes are not acceptable, even when you are a teenager?
I think that is the great takeaway from all this. Yeah. That if you're going to send out racist tweets, then expect them to come back and bite your bum. And on that basis, I am pleased that there has been this kind of public execution of Ollie Robinson, because it will stop a lot of other talented, presumably white, but also black kids going through all this. So I am in favour of this. I am not in favour, though, of him being stopped from making his living based on something which is a decade old. I just wonder, well, in 30 years' time, somebody else, now in their 50s, they find something about them and their lives are destroyed. I'm not in favour of it.
Well, I think one of the lessons is, whatever you put online will stay online.
Forever.
I think a lot of sports people will now be going back through their social media feeds to clean them up, because the irony is, if you got rid of them, you wouldn't be facing this kind of punishment. But Monty, thank you. Kelvin, thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.
Come on. Thank you.